It started with a single sentence whispered at the gate. "Ma'am, you need to step aside." What happened next would ground a national airline, tank its stock overnight, and expose a culture of discrimination hiding in plain sight. But the real twist? The woman they dismissed as just another passenger was, in fact, the most powerful shareholder their airline had ever seen. And she wasn't about to stay silent. This is the story of Amelia Hartwell. Not many people knew her name when she entered Terminal C that morning. Dressed in dark jeans, a navy blazer, and polished Oxfords, she didn't look like someone who could shake the foundation of an entire industry. But appearances can be deceiving. Amelia had built one of the most successful logistics tech firms in the world, Hartwell Systems, and had quietly become a major investor in dozens of transportation companies across the globe. She was headed to Tokyo to finalize a game-changing merger between her company and a Japanese robotics firm. It would place her tech into the infrastructure of nearly every shipping port on the Pacific Rim. But before she could reach her flight, she encountered something she had fought her whole life: prejudice wrapped in corporate policy. She approached the priority boarding lane of Starlink Air, her boarding pass clearly displayed. Seat 1A, first class. "Excuse me, ma'am," the gate agent interrupted with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "This line is for our premium guests. Economy check-in is over there." Amelia, calm and composed, presented her pass. "Yes, I know. This is my seat." The agent barely glanced at the pass before waving over a supervisor. "We just need to verify a few things." Those few things turned into 30 minutes of unnecessary ID checks, company verification calls, and whispered conversations between staff who clearly believed she didn't belong in Seat 1A. It wasn't just suspicion, it was disbelief. The kind that clings to people who look a certain way, regardless of what they carry or who they are. Other first-class passengers strolled by unchallenged, sipping coffees and balancing briefcases. One of them even leaned toward the desk and asked, "Is there a problem with her ticket?" The agent shrugged. "Just a security protocol." Eventually, Amelia was allowed to board, but not before being pulled aside for an additional bag check and a pat-down that crossed professional boundaries. She said nothing. She simply walked down the jet bridge, took her seat, and stared out the window. She had planned to use the 14-hour flight to prepare her final presentation, but instead she spent it remembering every microaggression, every stolen opportunity, and every time she had been asked to prove she belonged. When she landed in Tokyo, her team greeted her with news. Starlink Air's CEO, Matthew Dane, would be joining the summit. He was scheduled to meet with several international investors, including one of Hartwell Systems' subsidiaries. What Dane didn't know was that Amelia controlled 26% of Starlink Air's voting shares through various private entities. And what he never anticipated was that his staff's treatment of her would set off a chain of events that would rock his company to its core. Back in the States, the footage had already gone viral. A fellow passenger had filmed the entire interaction at the gate. Social media erupted. Hashtags like "Jara boarding while black," "Jar seat 1A," and "Amelia Hartwell" trended globally. But it wasn't just outrage that followed, it was money. Starlink's stock dropped 17% in 2 days. Major corporate partners began to pull back. Airport authorities issued statements. The FAA quietly began its own inquiry into discriminatory practices at boarding gates. And then came the shareholder meeting. Normally, this was a routine affair, mostly about quarterly numbers, expansion plans, and platitudes about innovation. But this time, something was different. Amelia took the stage. "You don't know me," she began, "but you should. I've been one of the quiet forces behind this airline's survival during COVID. I've invested in your fleet upgrades, your software integrations, and your international expansion. And yet, your staff treated me like a security risk." The room went silent. She held up the boarding pass from that day. "This isn't just a seat, it's a symbol of every door that has been closed to people who look like me. But I'm not here for an apology. I'm here for accountability." She then introduced a 12-point proposal to overhaul Starlink's corporate culture: mandatory equity training, anonymous audits of boarding practices, and a public commitment to anti-discrimination measures, including oversight by an independent counsel. The board tried to sideline her motion, but she wasn't done. "As of this morning," she said, turning to the CFO, "I've called an emergency vote. I move to replace CEO Matthew Dane, effective immediately. Gasps. Within minutes, 2 additional board members backed her. A third joined via video call. By majority vote, Dane was removed. Amelia became acting chair of the board. Her first act? Reinstating 3 employees who had filed racial discrimination complaints that were previously ignored. News outlets around the world picked up the story. It wasn't just a headline, it was a shift in the narrative. Black CEO exposes airline bias. Takes control. The 1A revolution. How one boarding pass changed everything. Corporate karma, Amelia Hartwell, and the $2 billion wake-up call. By the end of the month, 4 other airlines announced similar equity reviews. 2 airports overhauled their security partner contracts. The Department of Transportation began drafting new accountability standards for airline passenger treatment. And Amelia? She declined interviews. She wasn't interested in being a symbol. She was too busy leading the change she wanted to see. Sometimes all it takes is a moment, a boarding pass, a camera, a voice that refuses to be silenced. Because when justice boards a plane, no one flies above it.